Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to help you get smart, fast on the topics you choose.
That's right. We take your source material and pull out the core insights.
And today, you've asked us to tackle a really big one. How did the Second World War actually begin?
We're diving into a lecture transcript from Alessandro Barbero, a historian who really breaks down the complexities.
Our goal here is simple. Cut through the noise, get you the essential understanding of those events leading up to 1939, based on Barbero's analysis. No information overload.
Just the key factors and connections. It's a serious subject, obviously, but Barbero does highlight some almost darkly ironic moments along the way.
Definitely. Okay, so Barbero kicks things off way back right after World War I. 1919, the Treaty of Versailles.
Yes, he argues very clearly that you can't understand WWII without understanding the end of WWI. That treaty, it wasn't really a resolution.
More like planting seeds for the next conflict.
Exactly. It left this huge amount of dissatisfaction simmering across Europe. And not just in Germany, the losing side.
Right, you mentioned Italy. They were on the winning side, got territory like Trento, Trieste, but still felt cheated.
Very much so. The whole mutilated victory narrative took hold. They felt they deserved more, and that dissatisfaction it helped fuel the rise of fascism there.
So even winners were unhappy. Imagine how Germany felt.
Oh, absolutely. Barbero emphasizes the sense of deep, profound injustice in Germany. It wasn't vague, it was about concrete things. Losing territory, especially to the new Polish state, land where Germans lived.
And he points specifically to Danzig, right? Modern Gask.
Yeah, Danzig, a major port city, overwhelmingly German population. But Poland needed access to the sea. Germany wanted it. It was a flashpoint.
So the Allies came up with this solution, a free city, belonging to neither.
Kind of a compromise, yeah.
Yeah.
But the Germans living there, they wanted to be part of Germany. So you immediately get this powerful movement. Danzig is German. It becomes a rallying cry.
A major grievance.
And it wasn't the only one. Think about the old Austro-Hungarian Empire breaking up.
Right. Austria itself, German-speaking, wanted to join Germany the Anschluss.
Forbidden by the treaty.
And then you had Germans in Czechoslovakia, the Sudetenland, suddenly minorities in a new country.
Precisely. All these unresolved issues, these populations feeling cut off, it created this demand, especially strong in Germany, to revise the treaty, to overturn it.
Which leads us straight to Hitler.
Indeed. When the Nazis take power in 1933, revising Versailles is absolutely central to their platform. It's not a fringe idea. It resonates powerfully.
Because so many Germans felt genuinely wronged by that treaty.
Exactly. And Barbero identifies two key illusions that he believes pushed Europe towards war.
Okay, what were they?
First, the illusion held by Britain and France. They thought Hitler's demands, like over Danzig or Austria, were maybe understandable grievances that could be negotiated, appeased.
You thought they could manage them, make concessions, avoid a big war.
That was the hope. A profound miscalculation, of course.
And the second illusion?
That was Hitler's. He seemed to believe Germany could just take back territory, become dominant again, without facing serious opposition. He underestimated the potential for Britain and France to eventually draw a line.
Two massive, dangerous illusions colliding.
Which brings us to appeasement, the policy itself. Barbero highlights a really significant meeting, November 1937.
Who was involved?
British Foreign Secretary Lord Halifax meets Hitler in Berlin. And Halifax apparently expresses some sympathy for Germany's complaints about Poland, Austria, Czechoslovakia.
Sympathy. He actually said that.
He hinted that, maybe things could be adjusted down the line. It's quite startling.
So why? Why were Britain and France taking this line? What was the thinking?
A big part of it, Barbero argues, was the fear of Bolshevism, the Soviet Union.
So they saw Hitler's Germany as a buffer, a bulwark against communism.
That seems to have been a major factor. Deep suspicion of Stalin, deep distrust of the Soviets. They wanted to keep Soviet influence contained.
There was even that phrase, right? Better Hitler than Stalin?
Barbero mentions that sentiment existed among some elites, particularly in France. The fear of communism was that intense. So Hitler, despite everything, looked like a potential counterweight.
And Hitler saw this. He perceived this fear and hesitation as an opportunity.
It seems so. He likely interpreted their willingness to talk, Halifax's comments, as weakness, as a green light, essentially, to push harder.
And push she did, starting with Austria.
Yep, March 1938, the Anschluss. It wasn't just a simple invasion, though.
How did it happen?
Barbero describes how the Austrian Nazi Party, with full backing from Berlin, stirred up trouble, agitation, even terrorism. They created chaos to justify German intervention.
Yeah, and then German troops just marched in.
Pretty much. Invited in to restore order by the newly installed Nazi government in Vienna. Interestingly, Barbero notes the German army wasn't quite the slick machine propaganda claimed. Lots of tanks broke down on the way.
Huh. But internationally, what was the reaction?
Shockingly little. Austria itself. Well, there was significant popular support. A plebiscite later overwhelmingly approved it. Even the Cardinal of Vienna urged Catholics to support the new regime.
And the other powers? Britain, France.
Muted response. Barbero mentions this incredible, almost bizarre comparison in the Times of London.
What did they say?
They likened the Anschluss to the union of Scotland and England, basically normalizing it.
Wow. So Hitler must have felt pretty confident after that.
You'd have to assume so. And almost immediately, his attention turns to Czechoslovakia.
The Sudetenland Germans.
Exactly. And the pattern repeats. Nazi agitation inside Czechoslovakia. German newspapers screaming about supposed oppression.
And pressure from Britain and France again.
Intense pressure, telling the Czech government they had to make concessions to the Sudeten Germans, give them autonomy, whatever it took.
Was anyone offering to help Czechoslovakia?
Barbero points out something crucial here. The Soviet Union actually offered to guarantee Czechoslovakia's borders, publicly.
Really? What happened with that?
Ignored. Dismissed by the West. The British ambassador in Moscow basically said Russia was irrelevant to European politics. A huge underestimation again.
So Czechoslovakia is being squeezed, pressured by everyone.
Which leads directly to the Munich Conference, September 1938.
The infamous Munich Agreement. Who was there?
Britain's Chamberlain, France's Daladier, Hitler, and Italy's Mussolini.
And crucially, who wasn't there?
Czechoslovakia. Their fate was decided without them even being in the room.
Why did Chamberlain and Daladier agree to it? What was their main motivation?
Overwhelmingly, Barbero says it was the desire to avoid war. The memory of World War I was just catastrophic. They genuinely believed they were securing peace, even at a high price.
And the price was the Sudetenland, handed over to Germany.
Yes, the German-populated regions of Czechoslovakia, ceded to Hitler.
And Hitler's takeaway from this?
That aggression worked, that the West wouldn't just stand by, they'd actively help him achieve his goals.
Then Chamberlain flies back to London,
waving that piece of paper signed by Hitler, declaring, "Peace for our time."
Such a tragically ironic moment.
Absolutely. Appeasement has become such a dirty word, but Barbero reminds us they thought they were doing the right thing, preventing a worse catastrophe.
But the peace didn't last long. Hitler wasn't satisfied.
Not at all. His promises at Munich meant nothing. And it wasn't just Germany taking bites out of Czechoslovakia.
Oh, who else?
Poland actually grabbed a small piece of territory, too, right after Munich. Opportunistic. Maybe they thought their anti-communist stance made them friends with Germany. A fatal miscalculation on their part.
And then Hitler finished the job.
March 1939. He summons the Czech president, who was elderly, ill, to Berlin, middle of the night.
And threatens him.
Threatens to flatten Prague with bombs unless he signs a document requesting German protection. Coercion, pure and simple. The rest of Czechoslovakia is occupied.
And the international response this time? Still nothing.
Pretty much silence. But Barbero notes this seems to be the moment Chamberlain finally realized Hitler couldn't be trusted.
The penny finally dropped.
It seems so. A couple of days later, Chamberlain gives a speech, sounds deeply disturbed, questions Hitler's word. The betrayal seemed to sink in.
So what was Hitler's next move?
Poland. Specifically, Danzig again. Also in March 1939, he demands its annexation into Germany.
And Poland refused.
They did, flatly rejected it. And Barbero points out how Hitler's tone completely changed. Just months before, he'd been talking about German-Polish friendship. Now, it was all threats.
Things must have gotten very tense in Danzig itself.
Extremely. Clashes, Nazi paramilitaries becoming more visible. It was heating up fast.
And this time, Britain and France reacted differently.
Yes, finally. They offered Poland a formal guarantee, military support if Germany attacked.
A line in the sand, finally. But was the public ready for war over Danzig?
That was the question. Barbero mentions there was still reluctance. You saw slogans like, "More Port Danzig, die for Danzig, no," in France. People were hesitant.
Meanwhile, what about the Soviet Union? Were the Allies still trying to talk to them?
Yes. That spring and summer of '39, Britain and France were trying something unprecedented for them, negotiating a military alliance with Stalin.
How did that go?
Slowly. Painfully slowly. Riddled with mutual suspicion. Decades of distrust couldn't just vanish.
And Stalin noticed this lack of urgency, this half-heartedness.
He certainly seemed to perceive it that way, which led him to explore other options, secretly.
While still talking to Britain and France.
Exactly. He was keeping his options open, which led to the bombshell.
The Nazi-Soviet Pact, August 23, 1939.
Utterly shocking at the time. A non-aggression pact between mortal ideological enemies. It stunned the world.
Why did Stalin do it? From Barbero's perspective.
Pragmatism. Cynicism, perhaps. He likely felt the Western powers weren't serious about a real anti-Hitler alliance. Germany was making concrete offers.
And it wasn't just a non-aggression pact, was it?
No, there was a secret protocol dividing Eastern Europe into spheres of influence. Poland was to be partitioned between them.
Wow. And Barbero adds another factor influencing Stalin.
Yes, the situation on the other side of the USSR, they were fighting an undeclared border war with Japan in Mongolia at that very moment. Huge battles.
So Stalin needed security on his western border while dealing with Japan in the east.
It makes sense. The pact with Hitler bought him time, and he thought security in Europe, at least temporarily.
The reaction must have been incredible.
Global shock. Even within the Axis, like Mussolini's son-in-law Ciano, the reaction was sort of cynical disbelief, already eyeing potential spoils.
So the pact is signed. What happens in those last few days of August?
Absolute frenzy. Diplomacy on overdrive, but mostly futile. Mussolini tries to broker another Munich-style conference.
Does Hitler listen?
No. Ribbentrop, his foreign minister, just dismisses it. Hitler is set on attacking Poland, and fast. Barbero suggests Hitler felt his own time was limited, maybe worried about his health.
Rationing starts in Germany. Italy puts restrictions in place.
Clear signs war is imminent. Britain makes desperate last pleas for Poland to negotiate directly with Germany.
And Hitler demands.
He demands a Polish envoy with full negotiating powers show up in Berlin immediately. An ultimatum, basically.
Does it happen?
No. There's confusion, delays. The Polish ambassador goes to see Ribbentrop, but without the full powers Hitler demanded.
Which plays right into Hitler's hands.
Perfectly. He can claim Poland refused to negotiate. Then comes a final piece of the charade.
The Gleiwitz incident.
Yes. A fake attack. Nazi commandos dressed in Polish uniforms stage an assault on a German radio station near the border, the manufactured pretext.
Even as Lord Halifax is sending last-minute telegrams.
Trying desperately to find a way out, but it's too late.
So, August 31st.
Hitler signs the order. Attack Poland.
And September 1st, 1939.
The invasion begins. World War II has started.
Britain and France declare war, but not immediately.
Not until September 3rd. A slight delay, maybe a final faint hope it wouldn't escalate, but they honored their guarantee to Poland.
And Italy.
Declares non-belligerence. Stays out for now. Barbero closes this section quoting the Italian newspaper Corriere della Sera from September 1st.
What did it say?
Basically, it spun the Axis narrative, blaming the Allies, painting Germany as having been reasonable and pushed into action. A chilling example of wartime propaganda already in full swing.
So wrapping up Barbero's analysis for you listening. It's this complex web, isn't it? The long shadow of Versailles.
Definitely. The failure of appeasement born from fear and miscalculation.
Hitler's relentless drive, his exploitation of grievances.
And that absolutely crucial, world-shaking Nazi-Soviet pact.
All culminating in those chaotic final days and the invasion of Poland. It's so much more than just one cause.
Understanding these threads, these illusions and pressures Barbero lays out, gives you a much deeper sense of why it happened. It wasn't simple.
It really wasn't. So here's something to think about, drawing from Barbero's insights. How might those pre-war miscalculations, the powerful national feelings, the moments of self-deception, how might they offer lessons for us today?
Yeah, when you look at current global tensions, diplomatic maneuvering, are there echoes, parallels, even if imperfect?
It's a really important question to consider. We definitely encourage you to keep exploring, read more sources, get different perspectives on this pivotal moment in history. Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.